Good morning everyone. So are you ready? So today's class topic is tuberculosis of the genital tract. As we know that the tuberculosis continues to be a major health problem, and about 0.75 to 1% of all gynecological admissions are in India, and especially in cases of the pulmonary tuberculosis, the pelvic tuberculosis varies between 10 to 20%. So it may be a active tuberculosis or latent tuberculosis. In active tuberculosis, dormant bacteria in the body start to multiply due to lowered immunity to start active disease. And in latent tuberculosis, bacteria enters human and stimulates immune system to stimulate cell mediated immunity, after which it remains dormant as bacteria or its DNA and its antibody, and later it may be reactivated. So what is the pathogenesis? The causative organism is Mycobacterium tuberculosis. It is always almost secondary to the primary infection at the extragenital sites. And such as lungs, there is 50% chance incidence, in lymph node 40%, in urinary tract 5%, and joint 5%. And from these primary sites, the fallopian tube are invariably affected in almost all cases, from where the secondary spread occur to the other genital tract. When these tubercular bacilli infect a susceptible host, the initial reaction is polymorph nuclear inflammatory exudate, and within 48 hours this is replaced by the mononuclear cells, which become the primary site for the intracellular tubercular replication. As the cell immunity develops, the destruction of the tubercular bacilli begin, and leading to caseous necrosis, and later reactivation of the lesion lead to classical granuloma. Mode of spread is in majority of the cases, 90% cases, it is the hematogenous spreads, and in rest of the cases lymphatic, it may be direct spread or ascending infection, that is very rare. So the affection of the individual genital organ, in fallopian tube it is 100% cases, in endometrium it is 50 to 60%, ovary, pelvic peritoneum 40 to 50%, in ovary 30%, and the cervix 5 to 15%, and the vulva vagina 1%. So ascending infection is very rare. So in pathology there may be gross appearance and microscopic appearance. Gross appearance, fallopian tubes, both tubes are affected simultaneously. There may be tubercular endosalpingitis when the infection occur from the inside, tubercular exosalpingitis when the infection occur from the outside, from the peritoneal cavity, and interstitial tubercular salpingitis. The salpingitis ischemica nodosa, or the nodular thickening, it is the proliferation of the tubal epithelium within the hypertrophied myosalpinx, and it is diagnosed on laparoscopy or HSG as a small diverticuli. In this you can see this is a bluish nodular swelling, and this is ischemica nodosa. In this picture it is more clear. These are dark nodular swelling of the ischemic portion, and these were distended with yellow fluid. Tubercular endosalpingitis. In this the tubes are thickened, enlarged and tortuous, and in 5% cases the femoral end is pouting, open and everted, means, and from this the periodic spillage of the tubal exudate which lead to frequent exuberation, means the tube femoral end is open, and from the here the discharge is pouted into the peritoneal cavity, and there is frequent exuberation. After DNC or HSG with oil contrast, especially with oil contrast, there is a flare up of the tuberculosis, and there is caseation in the wall of the tube, collection of the cheesy material which is known as pyosalpinx, and there may be dense adhesions around the tube, because this is although it is endosalpingitis, but adhesions may occur out. The contents are sterile, and they are liable to recurrent attack by the pyogenic organism. Sometimes this endosalpinx may be seen as a hyperplastic edematous and may be totally destroyed, and the mucosa is granulomatous lesion with chronic inflammatory infiltration, and the caseation is late in the late stages. The tubercular exosalpingitis, there is direct extension from the adjacent organs, and the disease start in the muscularis mucosa or on the peritoneal surface, and the ampulla is mostly affected, and ischemic interstitial part is least affected. Peritoneal surface, there is miliary tuberculosis on the peritoneal surfaces. These are nodule on the peritoneal surfaces. In this again the primordial and may be open and pouting, and the tube may be elongated and distended, distal tube with blocked abdominal ostium. So there is collection because the femoral and may be blocked, and there is collection of the material, cheesy material into the tube, and this leads to tobacco pouch appearance. In frozen pelvis there are multiple adhesions and with obliterated pouch of Douglas. And if there is trauma, maybe when we are doing surgery, then we try to break the adhesions, then it may lead to fistula. Interstitial tubercular salpingitis, and in this the tube is thickened and inflammation in the interstitial part of the tube, and this is only diagnosed by on histopathological examination. Pathology in microscopy, there are typical granuloma which consist of infiltration of the multinucleated giant cells that are Langhans, and the chronic inflammatory cells and epithelial cells surrounding by central area of the causation. So this is area of the causation. These are large Langerhans cells, and these are lymphocytes. So the causation is very important. In uterus, in 70% cases have uterine involvement, and the uterus appears grossly normal. In advanced cases there may be causating material collect in the uterine cavity, that is known as pyometra, and it is more common in the postmenopausal women. What is Asherman syndrome? Anyone? So Asherman syndrome is the dense adhesions into the uterine cavity, and the uterine cavity may be obliterated. So this may lead to hypomenorrhea or the amenorrhea because of the decreased subendometrial blood flow. Because of the adhesions there is decreased endometrial flow, and this may lead to implantation failure. And abscesses in the myometrium are very rare. These tubercles are in the basal layer in the endometrium, and they come to the surface premenstrually, and gradually from the proliferative phase to the secretory phase they come onto the surface, and this endometrium is shed after each menstruation, and which lead to reinfection, and there is endometrial ablation which may lead to adhesions or synechia formation, that is Asherman, and it may lead to infertility, secondary amenorrhea or recurrent abortions. In cervix, it may be descending type mainly, but rarely it is ascending type. It may be ulcerative or the nodular type. There are red ulcer, papillary erosion which bleeds on touch. So we have to differentiate from the carcinoma cervix by the pap smear cytology. In vulva and vagina, lesion may be ulcerative with undermined edges. They are painful ulcers, and they heals with the scar formation at the one end, and it spreads slowly to the other organs. In ovary, the surface tubercles, there may be adhesions, there may be thickening of the capsule, or causating abscesses may be seen. So all these may reduce the ovarian reserve. In pelvic peritoneum, again it is wet type or the dry type. In wet type it is exudative type, and there are ascites with straw colored fluid in the peritoneal cavity, and parietal and the visceral peritoneum are covered with numerous small tubercles. And in dry variety, this is mainly adhesive type, and there are dense adhesions with bowel loops, and adhesions are due to fibrosis when the wet variety heals. So what are the clinical features? So the patient profile is infection is restricted mainly to the childbearing period, that is in 80% cases they are a childbearing age. There may be past history of the tubercular affection of the lungs or lymph gland, means because it is secondary to the primary infection elsewhere, and it occurs in 10 to 20% of the patient who have pulmonary tuberculosis in adolescents, and there may be family history, and onset is mostly insidious. Symptoms: mainly it is the infertility, which can be primary or the secondary. So what are the causes of the infertility in tuberculosis? Because tube is mainly responsible for the fertilization occur in the tube, and tube may be damaged because of the adhesions or the tubal block. Then again in the endometrium there is destruction, synechia formation, implantation failure, miscarriage, and the preterm delivery can occur. And in ovary it is resistant to the gonadotropin stimulation because of the tuberculosis, and this leads to poor ova quality and the failure of the ART procedure. The second most common symptom is menstrual abnormality. There may be menorrhagia or amenorrhea and the oligomenorrhea. Initially there is menorrhagia, but as the disease progresses it may lead to amenorrhea or the oligomenorrhea. It is due to menorrhagia is due to ovarian involvement, pelvic congestion, endometrial proliferation lesion, and usually early manifestation, and it usually do not respond well to the hormonal treatment. And there may be also because postmenopausal bleeding may occur, and later on amenorrhea or the oligomenorrhea is due to suppression of the ovarian function. It is acts as a tubercular toxin, and it is a late manifestation. There may be pain in 25 to 40% cases, which is chronic pelvic pain. Severe pain is less common, and maybe because of the secondary infection, which can also lead to nausea, vomiting, and the fever. And there may be vaginal discharge, blood stain discharge, postcoital bleeding, or the leukorrhea. Signs: there is general health is usually unaffected initially, but in chronic cases, late cases, there may be some debilitating sign. Thank you.